How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. From haunted hospitals to eerie schools, we count the 10 most haunted places in the Philippines. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more creepy content just like this.
Fort Santiago was the butchering site of hundreds of soldiers and civilians during the Second World War. Intramuros was further devastated in 1945 as the Americans fought the Japanese, resulting in the deaths of thousands as the city burnt to ashes. Today, there are sightings of ghost soldiers patrolling at night. Moreover, there were reported screams of persecutions and torture that echo throughout the city walls when darkness sets in. Fort Santiago was a defense fortress built by Miguel López de Legazpi, a Spanish conquistador. The fort forms part of Intramuros' city structures and was a holding place for the famous Filipino hero Jose Rizal. He was executed in 1896. His final footsteps from the cell to the execution grounds have been bronzed on the floor. Visitors report an eerie feeling as they follow these bronzed footsteps, with many saying they've felt his touch. Others have even passed out on the spot. Another World War II victim, the Diplomat Hotel, is now an eerie structure in Dominican Hill. Apparently, it was the beheading site of priests and nuns during the war. People in the nearby area perpetually report hearing howls and screams at all times of the day. The Diplomat's former employees claim that there are headless ghosts that traverse the long dark hallways of the hotel, carrying their heads on plates. The Diplomat used to be a seminary and rest house before being converted to a hotel in 1911. It was the actual beheading of numerous members of the clergy in its grounds that is attributed to the sightings of headless apparitions by former guests and employees. The death of its owner in 1987, spiritual healer Tony Agpaeo, saw to the hotel closing shop. It remains off limits to both visitors and the public. Nevertheless, nearby villages still hear disturbing sounds emanating from Dominican Hill during the night. Dishes clattering, doors banging, and agonizing screams are pretty much a common occurrence. The Ozone Disco was once a hit club in Quezon City. In 1996, however, over 160 people lost their lives in this hotspot. The disco caught fire, and because of mass panicking, many didn't make it out. People near the former club's location still report hearing ghostly disco music at night, accompanied by faint apparitions dancing. The disco had its premises along Timog Avenue in Quezon City. It was opened by Sergio Ogao in 1991. The premises previously housed a jazz club known as Birdland. On March 18, 1996, a fire broke out. At the time, Ozone had over 350 patrons and 40 employees in a space meant for just 35 occupants. Sadly, the majority of the patrons were college and high school attendants. It's reported that sparks started flying out of the DJ's booth, followed by smoke, which everyone considered to be part of the party act. After subduing the fire, bodies were found piled up waist high at the club's only exit. The fire exit, on the other hand, had been blocked by another building. It's also said that the disco's bouncers apparently locked the main exit from outside, fearing a riot. Today, the former club's burnt-out shell remains vacant and undisturbed, save for the perennial ghost sightings, voices, and strange music. The cool weather in Baguio City has made it the unofficial summer capital of the Philippines for a long time. As such, it wasn't a surprise when American teachers chose this city as a training site in the 1900s. Since then, the teachers' camp has been used as a training, retreat, or seminar center. Nevertheless, reports of ghost sightings are rampant in these grounds. Both visitors and caretakers say they hear a lady crying in the nearby cottages, or heavy footsteps in the hallways. Other common reports are that of a headless priest and a white lady walking around the grounds. Some guests have even reported being woken up at exactly 3 a.m. by a white lady oozing blood. This was an American settlement that faced some major bombing in World War II by the Japanese. One of these was an air raid on Christmas Day of 1941, when American soldiers were partying inside the home plate canteen. Apparently, the partying souls have not missed a beat or are unaware of their demise. Early morning joggers often report hearing excited talk and music inside the grounds even though they're evidently empty. The abandoned Clark Air Base Hospital is another site for paranormal activity. In addition to hearing mysterious voices and seeing apparitions, violent spirits started terrorizing the grounds, which led to the area being rendered off-limits to everyone. At the Clark Museum, sightings of a ghost of a serviceman that hung himself in the premises still haunt the property. Needless to say, Clark Air Base has had a long, turbulent and bloody history. This airbase was also the evacuation site for American soldiers during the Vietnam War. Death and trauma resulting from the conflict has also been attributed to the presence of spirits in the hospital. The now ruined Clark Base Hospital is a hub for ghostly activity. Swing sets moving back and forth inexplicably, voices in empty buildings, dancing orbs of light, apparitions that bear battle scars floating around, and other occurrences have been reported countless times. Visitors have even had objects thrown at them from nowhere. Several TV crews have attempted to investigate the authenticity of these claims. Most of them were so badly frightened that they didn't stick around to complete production. It seems World War II still has lingering effects in the Philippines in the form of terrifying hauntings. The Los Banos campus certainly has its fair share. Not only did the campus witness the war, but it's also located at the foot of a spooky mountain, Mount Makiling. There are reported sightings of the Capre, a Filipino mythical creature. These creatures are said to be tall, hairy and muscular, and often attract attention due to their peculiar smell. Ancient stories claim that these beasts can be vengeful and violent if their habitat is threatened, often clubbing intruders to death. It's also said that they are mischievous creatures that play tricks on people. Students often report that the university's bridges always seem longer to cross during the nighttime, leaving some to believe they're being stalked by the Capre. Additionally, the campus is close to Baker Hill, an infamous Japanese war camp. It's said that ghosts of former prisoners linger in the area unaware of their demise. Students often say they've seen soldiers walking around the grounds of the university. They look shell-shocked and confused, wandering around aimlessly. When approached by staff or students, they seem to stare right through them before turning into a strange mist and disappearing altogether. People who have had these experiences report overwhelming depression and anxiety in the subsequent days. It's as though the fear and sadness of the soldiers has transferred into them. To this day, no one has been able to explain these mysterious events. San Jose is the capital town in the province of Antique on Panay Island. Locals believe the area is haunted by ghost pirates. They say the pirates lurk in the shadows near the docks. It's thought that these ghost pirates will fiercely defend their territory, guarding their hoards of treasure from years gone by. San Jose also has churches that were built on top of burial grounds by the Spanish. Many people report these churches to be among the most haunted places in the Philippines. Some say the area is tormented by a mythical creature known as a whack-whack, the supposed bird form of a vampire or witch. These wild creatures are known to tear the flesh from animals and humans and gorge on the spilled blood. Graves in the local cemetery are often adorned with garlic and surrounded by lines of salt in an effort to repel these evil creatures. Balete Drive is famous for sightings of a ghost white lady, in addition to numerous haunted houses which were constructed during the 19th century. This area is abundant with balete trees, which are said to be a favourite resting grounds for lost and wandering spirits. It's said that they sit in balete trees waiting to prey on their next victim. It's believed that the ghost white lady was a woman who was accosted and raped by Japanese soldiers during World War II. Her corpse was reportedly not even buried. It was thrown into a ditch by the road where it remained for several years. Bit by bit, the body was picked apart by rats, birds, insects and other creatures. It's claimed that part of her hair and bones are buried in underground rats' holes or perched in branches as part of birds' nests. Her face is said to have been taken by the man who killed her as a personal souvenir. It's believed that her spirit still searches for the man and his descendants to exact her revenge. Those who have witnessed her ghost advise motorists to avoid Balete Drive at all costs, particularly if you're alone. If you have to use the route, ensure your backseat is full and that no one looks behind them or into their mirrors. If you take a taxi cab along this route, you'll notice the driver's edginess when you come near the spot. If either of you notices her, you're in for a violent death. You can only mitigate this disastrous outcome by fasting and reciting the Holy Rosary for the next 3 days. Only then will you be spared. Those who have seen the White Lady's ghost and lived to tell the tale report of seeing an apparition wearing a long white and blood-stained gown. It is tattered and ripped, and she is sporting long dishevelled hair. Her face is indistinguishable and covered with dripping blood. The modern tale of her story purports that she faced a gruesome death by the hands of a taxi driver. Coincidentally, almost anyone that reports of her sighting is either a sole driver or a motorcyclist. The San Juan area is home to strange stories. One of these tales is about the Pasatsat, ghosts from the Second World War. Because graveyards and coffins were too pricey for the natives, they instead wrapped their dead in reed mats. Apparently, if someone becomes haunted by a Pasatsat, they need to find their grave and stab their reed coffin to lay the angry spirit to rest. Pasatsat means to stab. That's not all, there is a devil man in San Juan whose MO is to ask for cigars. Those that have encountered the devil man report that instead of a face, he has extreme darkness in its place and usually dons a wide-brimmed hat. Give him a cigarette and you'll be okay. He also has a penchant for native cigarettes. San Juan also has a headless nun that was reportedly beheaded by the Spanish. If you see her and she touches you on your left shoulder, you'll either go mad or die instantly. Before we get to the number one spot and find out where the most haunted place in the Philippines is, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest creepy content. Among the most haunted places in the Philippines, the Manila Film Center has to take first place. It's said that the spirits of those died constructing the centre still roam around the area looking for live bodies to inhabit. The bizarre stories behind the Manila Film Center began in the 1980s during its construction. Apparently, the construction was rushed in a bid to meet the date of a certain festival. This led to the ceiling scaffolding collapsing and sending the men working on it plummeting down to their deaths. Instead of retrieving the bodies or rescuing the survivors, the First Lady, Imelda Marcos, who was the project's chief financier, ordered that cement be poured where the men had landed, entombing them forever. Since then, there have been strange happenings all around the facility. Even though the film centre is still operational, it's marred by controversy and paranormal activities. People often report things moving on their own, loud banging and strange whispering. Some have said they've heard crying coming from the toilets, but when they go to investigate, there's no one there.
Well, there's some more awesome creepy content for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying it, hit that upward facing thumb. Leave us a comment down below which one of these stories you thought was the creepiest. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.